What is going on, everybody? It's Matt Marchese, also known as Islanders Daily, your home from everything from the four-time Stanley Cup champions New York Islanders, back here with another episode tonight on this rainy night that we will be discussing these things. And before we get started, I just want to answer a comment that I received from yesterday's video asking about Chris King and if there's any chance that those guys will be brought back. And unfortunately, I wish I had more of an straightforward answer for you, but unfortunately we did learn that the Islanders were wanting to cut costs and become cheaper, which is kind of ridiculous as a professional team. And we know those guys kind of stopped doing the road games. They would just start broadcasting from home for those road games. They weren't traveling. And then just this season coming up, we have now known that Chris King and Greg Picker were both let go from their respective roles as the broadcasters for the New York Islanders on the radio side of things. And honestly, I don't think that they will be brought back. This is kind of a decision that I don't know if the GMs or anything have a say in it. I think this is coming from the upper brass on trying to cut costs and, the more business aspect of it. And it's tough because, Chris King and Greg Picker are, legendary radio announcers for the New York Islanders. They've been doing it a long time, and we see in the comments that they grew a loyal, strong fan base. And unfortunately, I just don't see a way that they're coming back. I mean, I think the Islanders are just completely getting rid of radio broadcasts in general. I think that's going to be it. I think for the radio broadcast, what they will do is they will just start playing Brendan and Butch as the radio broadcasters while they're announcing it on TV as well, which kind of defeats the purpose and everything, because commentating on radio and commentating for a video are two different things. You have to give your information differently compared to when they can see what's happening on television, and then when you can't see what's on television, you definitely have to be more descriptive with the plays and everything as the radio broadcasters. And this is, I guess, a little like just personal info is I graduated college with, sports media degree, wanting to be a broadcaster. I got the pleasure of working with the Reading Royals in the ECHL as a broadcaster, where that was done radio, and you really learn how the different announcing goes. So it's just kind of tough to see how they think that having Brendan and Butch will be able to translate well to the radio. I think Brendan and Butch are some of the best announcers in the NHL by far, some of my favorite announcers in the NHL by far, but I just don't Chris King and Greg Picker, that was their role, the radio broadcast. They're known as the Radio Islander guys, and I wish I had a more straightforward answer for you. I definitely do not see them coming back. I mean, Greg Picker on his Twitter sent out a tweet just thanking everybody for the kind words and the time with the Islanders, and Chris King, I really don't know what he's doing. He hasn't released anything in any time, so it's definitely, upsetting, that those two guys are going for the radio broadcaster listeners. So it's definitely tough, and, I feel sorry for the people. I also live out of state now. I usually watch the games on ESPN Plus. I'm not usually a radio broadcast listener, but when I could listen to them, they were great, and I enjoyed every moment of it. So it's definitely a tough thing to lose them, and it's kind of disingenuous. I think the Islanders have been doing a lot of good things recently, but I will say that this is kind of on the side of not doing a good thing. I don't see a reason why you had to let these two guys go for all the hard work they did. So it's definitely tough. And now we'll get into the real episode of the day, where we're going to be talking about training camp, no professional tryouts, special teams, and our Barzal outlook for the season. So to get things started, our training camp roster, there's a lot of them, so be ready. We got Matthew Barzal, Adam Beckman, Cameron Berg, Casey Cizikas, Max Doington, Hunter Drew, Jonathan Drouin, Anthony Duclair, Pierre Engvall, Liam Foudy, Mark Gatcomb, Julian Gauthier, Emil Heineman, Matthew Highmore, Simon Holmstrom, Bo Horvat, Alex Jeffries, Dalen Kufler, Joey Larson, Anders Lee, Itu Laukis, Kyle McLean, Matthew Maggio, Ross Matan, Jesse Nurmi, Jean-Gabriel Pajot, Kyle Palmieri, Thomas Polton, Callum Ritchie, Luca Romano, Maxim Shabanov, Chris Terry, Cam Thiesing, Max Siplikov, and Gleb Vermayev. Those are just all the forwards, and there's a ton to take in there. Now, realistically, all of these guys really only, 11 of them, 12 of them on the forwards really have a shot at making a name for themselves. But the rest, this is definitely a great experience getting ready for the AHL season, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Wasp splits up the groups for training camp. And now we'll head to the defensemen. Luckily, there's less of these, but still a lot. And we got Kayshawn Aitchison, Ethan Bear, Adam Boquist, Sean Day, Tony D'Angelo, Isaiah George, Scott Mayfield, Cam McDonald, Cole McWard, Travis Mitchell, Kalle Adulius, Adam Pellick, Jesse Polkinen, Ryan Pollock, Alexander Romanov, Luke Rowe, Matthew Schaefer, and Marshall Warren. So a lot of defensemen there. And one that sticks out to me is Sean Day. I forgot we even signed him to that AHL deal. Former, exemplary status in the OHL, coming to the Islanders to play defense probably in the AHL this season. And then for goaltenders, we got Marcus Hogberg, Burke Hood, Tristan Lennox, David Riddick, Ilya Sorokin, Henrik Tikkanen, Semyon Varlamov, and Parker Gahagen. And another fun fact, when I was announcing for the Reading Royals, I got to watch Parker Gahagen and announce for him live. So that's kind of cool to see him here on the Islanders now. He'll definitely be in the AHL, as that's what he did with the Royals and the Flyers. He split time between Allentown and Reading before, kind of cementing himself a little in Allentown later on in the year. So definitely cool to see somebody I announced in the in the league for goaltenders for the Islanders. So that's cool. But yeah, so that's the training camp roster. Obviously, the next part of it is there are no professional tryouts this season. As Matthew Darsh says, there's enough competition already on the Islanders that there's no reason to bring in a professional tryout. And I wholeheartedly agree. With the amount of players showing up for our forwards and defensemen, there is just no room for any professional tryouts. I mean, there's just a ton, and a ton of people who can try and make a name for themselves, try and make the team. Now, realistically, like I said, most of these players won't have a chance to make the team. They might be able to make it the extras, but definitely it's a proving ground for a lot of these guys. It is a proving ground to prove where you stand on the Islanders and how good you can be, and if you can help the Islanders in the future, because we know Darsh has said he will make room for players who deserve to be in the NHL. And a quote that we saw is Isles training camp, it will be a competitive one. Isles training camp will be a competitive one. This is from Stefan Rosner. He says, there's not only players trying to make the roster, but prove they should be higher on the depth chart, especially when it comes to the forward group. And Stefan Rosner couldn't say it any better. This is a proving ground for the New York Islanders, and it's going to be an exciting time to see who is able to prove themselves, who can move up on the depth chart. I know we've had people in the comments talking down on Wah's decision on the lineups. Well, here's the player's chance to prove Wah wrong and prove that they belong on the top line or the fourth line in some cases. Players fighting for that final spot. So training camp's going to be exciting. I've said it all these episodes, that training camp and preseason hockey, it's going to be exciting. The goaltenders, on the other hand, we kind of know how the goalies are set. We have Varlamov on the training camp, so I wonder if that means he's going to be taking shots and potentially be ready for the start of the season. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what goes on there. Or if he's just there with the team. Of course, that is also a possibility. But I know in media day that was going on today, he was in full uniform. So hopefully in training camp, he starts getting ready to take some shots and can be ready for the start of the season. That would be a great sign for the Islanders to have, solid 4 goalies ready to play, which is definitely exciting. And like I said, Matthew Darsh said, no professional tryouts. There's nothing going on there. And then in training camp, Patrick Waugh has stated that he's going to be implementing more structure work and special teams over conditioning this season. And, this is the quote. He says, I think last year we worked on a lot of things, but the main thing was maybe more conditioning. And I was pleased to see the guys. I was so proud of them to see watching them skating on their own before camp starts last week, seeing them doing some warmies and be ready for camp. But I think we're going to try and stray a little bit away from that and focus more on special teams and structure. And I like this answer by Patrick Waugh. Obviously, he made a joke in there saying, I cut the quote short. He made a joke saying there, obviously, I'm going to say we need to work on power play and penalty kill, and that's 100% right. The Islanders need all the help they can get there. But focusing more on structured hockey, which is definitely good. He won in conditioning last year. He thinks that the guys are conditioned well, and now it's time to focus up on structuring and playing the style of hockey that Patrick Waugh wants the Islanders to play this year. So I'm glad to see, a shift of focus. Obviously, we know the Islanders need all the help in special teams they can get as they rank 31st in both power play and penalty kill, which is just simply abysmal, simply mind-boggling how horrible a team could be on the special teams. They had a 12.6% on the power play and a 72.2% on the penalty kill. It's simply mind-boggling how pathetic they were on the special teams. And the fact that they actually even were as good as they were with those pathetic special teams is just as mind-boggling. So hopefully the Islanders can just become average at the special teams this year. Just average. That's all I'm asking for. Just for an average special teams this year from the Islanders. But who knows? But I'm glad to see that we're focusing on that. As we know, we got new assistant coaches who will be running this, which is definitely a good sign. It is definitely a good sign. And now finally, we're going to be doing our Matthew Barzal player outlook. I know we've taken a while to get to Barzal. We even did a Metro outlook yesterday. But today, I want to talk about Barzal with training camp starting tomorrow. And when you guys watch this video, training camp will be starting that day. And Barzal, obviously last year got injured, only played 30 games, had 20 points, which is solid, definitely, But Barzal can be so much more than that. The year before in 80 games, he had 80 points, 23 goals and 57 assists. And besides that, 58 games injured, 73 games hurt, 55 games hurt, 68 games hurt. I didn't realize how injured Barzal actually gets on the Islanders. And when he's hurt, he still puts up solid points. 55 games and 45 points, 73 games, 59 points, 58 games, 51 points. When Barzal is healthy, he is on his game, and he's a great player. Now, the problem for Barzal is he has trouble staying healthy. When can we get back to that rookie season Barzal where in 82 games he put up 85 points? Back in 23-24 when he put up the 80 points in 80 games, that's the closest we've seen to it. A fully healthy Barzal is a point-per-game player. And we just need Barzal to stay healthy this year. If Barzal's able to stay healthy, he could easily be another point-per-game player for the Islanders. I could easily see an 82-point season for Barzal, an 82 to an 87-point season. But that all relies on Barzal staying healthy, which he has struggled with in his career. So my goal for Barzal this year is, obviously I need him to... A healthy Barzal is putting up 80 points this year. That's it. A healthy Barzal is putting up 80 to 87 points this year. Enough said. Now, that's the key. How can Barzal stay healthy? Hopefully we got, better strength and conditioning team. We know he's been quoted that he says he feels good, but, an injury like that is going to take time. So it's going to be tough. If we can get a full season of a healthy Barzal, we're looking at a point-per-game player. It's just the problem of Barzal can't stay healthy. And it's such a shame because he's such a talented player. Islander fans love him. He's, the face of the franchise essentially at this point. And just him not being able to stay healthy really stinks. And I hope that this season is the year where Barzal is able to stay healthy and show everybody what he can truly do. So as always, I thank you all for tuning in. And if you have any questions that you want me to talk about in the next episode, be sure to leave them in the comments and I will be sure to get to them. And as always, let's go Islanders.